You know, the day you told me you just couldn't keep sacrificing yourself for that person anymore. I didn't argue. I nodded in silence. Not because I didn't care, but because I understood. I could see how exhausted you were, and I knew saying just try a little harder would have been cruel. You've given all you could. There's nothing left to give. And yet, even though I couldn't encourage you to keep sacrificing, I also couldn't ignore the part of me that wanted to tell you, stop. Stop sacrificing yourself in ways that destroy you. Because let's be honest, it's not changing them. It's just breaking you. I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. Not because I don't care or love you, but because I truly believe only you can fully understand your situation. Only you can find the solution that fits your life. I'm just someone on the outside, looking at your story through my own lens, through my own experiences. All I can do is gently remind you of something important. Sacrifice only means something when it's needed. When the person on the receiving end really needs it. When your effort becomes a source of strength for someone who's already trying their best but keeps falling short. That's when your sacrifice can lift them up, help them through the dark. But if they're not even trying, if they've gotten used to leaning on you, relying on you to carry everything, then what you think is love might actually be enabling. They get comfortable, they stop fighting, and over time they begin to believe they can't fight. They stop believing in their own ability to overcome. And you, beautiful, giving, compassionate you, don't realize that your endless giving might be the very thing weakening them. Not because you intend to, but because you love too much, too hard, too deep. And here's the hard truth. When you keep lifting someone up who could stand on their own, eventually they forget how to walk. And unintentionally, you become part of their downfall. That's a heavy thing to carry. So no, I'm not saying your love is wrong. I'm saying real sacrifice, healthy, meaningful sacrifice, comes from compassion and understanding, not from a place of emotional dependence or fear of abandonment. Not because you're clinging to someone hoping it'll make them stay. You know what's really hard to admit? That sometimes we help others not just because they need us, but because we need to feel needed. Because being someone's lifeline gives us a sense of purpose. It fills the void. But when that void inside you keeps screaming, when your body and soul are waving red flags, begging for rest, maybe it's time to pause. Maybe it's time to stop, to rest, to heal, to take care of you. Because your body, it's been calling out for your help for a long time now. Your soul, it's depleted. You've stretched yourself so thin, trying to keep someone else afloat, that you've started sinking too. You have to stop before you collapse completely. Pause. Recharge your energy. Reconnect with yourself. Regain balance in your life. Listen to your inner voice again. Tend to your own needs, not because it's selfish, but because it's necessary. This isn't about giving up. It's about reclaiming your strength. When you step back, you create space, not just for yourself to heal, but for the other person to grow, to realize they can do things on their own, that they don't need to be rescued all the time. I know you love them. I know your heart is wide open. You want to be the one who saves them. You've told yourself they're just lost, confused, stuck. You've convinced yourself that your love will be the light that guides them out of the darkness. But ask yourself, have they even tried to walk toward the light? You've done everything, over and over. And now you're hurting so deeply that even your breath feels heavy. So stop, please. Stop so you can find yourself again, so you can feel alive again, so you can remember what peace feels like, so you can stand still long enough to realize you matter just as much as the person you're trying to save. Love yourself first, because only when you're okay can you truly offer help to others. And let's be real, your life is bigger than one relationship. There are so many beautiful, meaningful things out there waiting for you. But you won't see them if you're stuck circling around one person, pouring everything into a black hole that never fills. You need deep roots, strong roots, roots that stretch into the ground of your own life, so that if one root breaks, you've still got others to keep you steady. Don't be afraid to open your heart to the world again, to let life reach you in new ways, to let yourself grow beyond this single connection. And please, don't let anyone guilt you into thinking that choosing yourself is selfish. It's not. No one can give forever without taking care of themselves. It's not sustainable. There's a time to give everything you've got and a time to pull back and refocus on your own well-being. Even the great poet Nguyen once said, "When it's warm inside, the outside can be at peace." And it's true. You can't bring warmth to the world when you're freezing inside. You can't help others find peace when you're falling apart. So maybe it's time to admit it. You thought they needed you, but maybe, just maybe, you were wrong. There might have been a time they needed your help, your presence, your love. But now, what they need most might actually be your peace, your steadiness, your example. They might be too afraid to say it, but deep down they know they've taken too much from you. That the version of you today isn't who you used to be, and that they had something to do with it. Do you believe that sometimes doing nothing is the most powerful form of help? Because sometimes silence speaks louder than words. Distance teaches better than lectures. Sometimes your stillness becomes the mirror that forces them to face themselves. That's not giving up. That's choosing a different way to love. A way that honors you just as much as it supports them. So, yeah, sometimes the best thing you can do for someone isn't rescuing them. It's letting them discover they don't need to be rescued anymore. I know that sounds backward, especially when you love them. You want to be there. You want to catch them every time they fall. But what if they need to learn how to land on their own? What if constantly catching them is what's keeping them from learning to stand? I know you feel like stepping back means abandoning them. That it makes you look cold, that people will say she's so selfish now. But listen to me, this is not about being selfish. It's about finally understanding that love, real love, doesn't always mean proximity, doesn't always mean involvement. Sometimes it means letting go while still caring. You've done enough, and now it's time to trust. Trust that they'll find their strength without your constant support. Trust that they'll rise or fall and learn something valuable either way. Trust that your distance might actually be the catalyst they need to change. And you've got to stop pouring every ounce of your energy into someone who's not changing, especially when you're left empty again and again. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you looked in the mirror and recognized the person staring back at you? When's the last time you felt vibrant, full of life, grounded in your purpose, not just reacting to someone else's chaos? You've been running on fumes, and for what? You keep telling yourself it's for love, but love isn't supposed to feel like drowning, like dragging someone else's weight while your own legs are giving out. You're not their crutch. You're not their savior. You're not their emotional landfill. You're a human being, with limits, with needs, with a heart that deserves to be treated gently too. And here's something you probably haven't allowed yourself to consider. Maybe the most healing thing you could offer isn't your constant help. It's your peace, your presence from a distance, your quiet decision to stop enabling, to stop rescuing, to stop bleeding for someone who won't stop the bleeding themselves. You think they need your sacrifices, but what they need now is your wholeness. They need to see that you won't keep giving up yourself for them, that your boundaries aren't punishments, they're proof of self-respect. And if they truly care, they'll come to understand that. If not, well then that says everything you need to know. Here's another thing I need you to hear. Your tendency to keep sacrificing might not just be about love. It might be about fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of feeling useless, fear of being alone. But here's the reality. Clinging to someone so tightly that you lose yourself isn't connection, it's survival mode, and it never leads to peace. If they're using your compassion, your generosity, your devotion to build their own comfort while you suffer quietly, that's not love. That's manipulation wrapped in gratitude. And I know it's hard to admit that. You've convinced yourself that they're just going through a hard time, that you're the only one who truly understands them, that they need your light because they're trapped in darkness. But you know what? Sometimes people stay in the dark because it's easier. And as long as you keep bringing them the light, they have no reason to step into it themselves. You're not wrong for loving them. You're just tired of loving them in a way that keeps breaking you. So what now? You stop. You breathe. You reclaim your space. You stop trying to fix what's not yours to fix. You stop trying to heal someone who won't even pick up the pieces of their own brokenness. Let yourself rest. Because when you rest, you reset. When you pull back, you gain clarity. When you prioritize yourself, you remember that you were never just born to sacrifice. You were born to live, to grow, to thrive. It's time to come home to yourself. You've spent too long orbiting someone else's gravity. Time to be your own sun again. And look, this doesn't mean cutting them off cold or hating them. It means honoring the truth that your role in their journey might be complete, or at least changing. It means realizing that being there for someone doesn't always look like proximity. Sometimes it looks like holding space from afar. Sometimes love is stepping back. Sometimes love is silence. Sometimes love is no longer carrying someone, but still cheering for them quietly from the edges of your life. You have that right. You don't owe endless sacrifice to anyone. You owe yourself peace. You owe yourself healing. You owe yourself the chance to see what life could look like when it's not centered around someone else's needs, moods, or approval. Let yourself explore that. Open your arms to new experiences, new people, new dreams. Stop investing everything into one dynamic that keeps asking more and more of you while giving so little in return. It's not that you don't care anymore. It's that you finally care about you too. And you should. Because you're worthy of love that doesn't hurt, of relationships that don't drain, of a life that doesn't revolve around pain disguised as purpose. So yes, take that break. Let go without bitterness. Let your energy settle. And watch how things begin to shift inside you and around you. Because you're not abandoning anyone. You're choosing to live again. And if they can't understand that, maybe they were never truly walking beside you in the first place. Just breathe. Let yourself land. Let yourself feel safe again. Not because someone else is making you feel that way, but because you are giving yourself that peace, that stillness. Here's what I want you to understand deep down. You can still love someone and not carry their burdens. You can care and still choose not to lose yourself in the process. That's not cold. That's wise. That's mature. That's the kind of love that doesn't cost you your identity. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to say, this is too much for me right now. You're allowed to protect your energy, especially when it's been drained over and over by the same story. Because listen, people don't grow just because you gave up everything for them. They grow when they choose to, when they decide to face their pain, to face their patterns, to take ownership of their healing. And here's a beautiful truth. Your calm, your grounded presence, your quiet dignity, those things might help them more than all your dramatic efforts ever could. You don't always need to speak. You don't always need to act. Sometimes just being in peace, in clarity, in wholeness is enough. It creates a different kind of mirror for them, one that reflects who they could become if they stopped relying on others to save them, one that says you're strong enough to do this too. That's love too. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to let them figure it out. And yes, there will be people who don't understand. people who say you're selfish, who whisper that you've changed. Let them, because you have changed. You've grown, you've evolved. You've realized that real love doesn't ask you to break yourself just to keep someone else whole. You've realized that boundaries are a form of love, that you matter too, that your dreams, your health, your joy, they're not luxuries. They're essentials. And the more you protect them, the more you become the kind of person who can truly love others, without conditions, without exhaustion, without losing yourself. You're not wrong for outgrowing the role you used to play. You're not wrong for no longer fitting inside someone else's narrative. You're not wrong for saying, I need to choose me now. This isn't the end of your capacity to give. It's the beginning of giving from a place that's full, not depleted. It's the shift from frantic sacrifice to intentional contribution. It's love with wisdom. It's compassion with clarity. And you know what? The right people, the ones who truly care about you, they'll see that. They won't resent you for choosing peace. They'll respect you more for it. Because they'll realize it takes strength to walk away from a pattern that's familiar but damaging. It takes courage to say, I deserve better than this cycle. It takes love, real love for yourself to make the hard choice of letting go. So no, you're not abandoning them. You're just releasing the illusion that you were the only thing holding their life together. You're trusting the process. You're trusting that what's meant for you will meet you in your healing, not your harm. And maybe, just maybe, they'll meet you there one day too. Stronger, wiser, more whole. And if not, you'll still be okay, because now you've found something far more stable than their approval. You've found you. You've discovered that peace isn't something someone else hands you. It's something you build, brick by brick, breath by breath, choice by choice. You are no longer waiting for someone to appreciate your sacrifices. You are creating a life where you no longer have to sacrifice yourself to feel loved. And that's powerful. So rest now. Feel your feet on the ground. Feel your breath in your body. Feel the quiet beginning to rise inside you, like a tide slowly returning to shore. That's not the sound of failure. That's the sound of freedom. You've made it through the storm. And you did it not by saving someone else, but by finally saving yourself. Let the music of your healing begin. And if one day they ask you, why did you stop trying? You can simply smile and say, because I finally realized I matter too.